Hello again, this is Back Garden Bushcraft, and before we move on to videos of things to make with your knife, we're going to look at some of the knife grips to make sure you use the knife safely and effectively when making these cuts. So today I'm just going to work on a rough piece of wood as a practice, and I'm using my Mora carving knife to do that with, but you can use any knife you've got. For the scouts, I suggest a fixed bladed knife, the Mora Companions, the Mora 511. Both with stainless steel blades are probably the best option because they don't require an awful lot of maintenance to make sure that they stay clean and rust free. But any knife will do as long as it is very sharp. A blunt knife is the dangerous knife because you're having to force the cuts. Like we need to do, make sure with anything, knives, make sure you have your first aid kit to hand just in case you cut yourself. And with the scouts, make sure that your parents know what you're up to. So to make a start, we will start with the standard push grip. So I'm going to remove the knife and we'll transfer it into standard fist grip. So 4 fingers wrapped round, thumb tucked round the other way. You're going to cut outside of the triangle made by your stomach and your legs, and you're going to always work safely off to one side, making sure that you're aware of anyone else who's around you. You need to maintain a safe distance around the person with a knife, so it's your responsibility walking past them and also the person who's using the knife to make sure that they have a clear work area. You don't want the knife pushing through a piece of wood and cutting into someone else or cutting into yourself. So the standard push grip, you want to hold your arm out and you're going to take into the wood and you're actually pulling back with your non-dominant arm. Your knife arm is actually locked out straight, and you're not trying to take great big chunks of wood off, you're trying to take smooth strips. You're not having to force the knife, it should just peel away. Now this is great for relatively soft wood, taking off thin strips, and you can make nice long cuts the full length of the wood if the shape of the piece of wood allows. This has got splintered grain because I split it with an axe, but you can work nice long cuts off of it, nice long strips. If you want to make a more powerful grip, we have two options. The first is the Shin Grip. So you place your hand and the back knife against your knee or your shin. You can then put the wood against it. It works better with a slightly longer blade, and then you pull the wood across the blade. It just gives you more power to make the cut. Your alternative option is the chest grip. The cut using your chest grip doesn't use your arms, it uses your back muscles. So you need to change the way you hold things. So it's going to be shorter, more powerful cuts, possibly cuts going across the grain. So you need to hold up tight onto your piece of wood. The knife rotates in your hand until the blade with the cutting edge is pointing back up your arm. You then tuck your piece of work in on one side, your knife on the other. You put the blade in and you then pull back using your shoulder muscles. It will feel awkward to start with, but you can use it to take quite big chunks of wood off and actually to start working across the grain and chipping out pieces of wood. So you're using a lot of pressure on your back, and you're just using that pressure to make the cuts. your arms are really there just to steady the work and steady the knife. So it gives you a nice, strong cut. For some of the more controlled cuts, this is where you're working on thinner pieces of wood. Instead of pushing the knife away from you, we can look at making a pulled cut towards yourself. So you work the piece of wood, and it needs to be a longish piece of wood, rest against your chest. Your fingers need to be at the end, well out of the way. You should never have your fingers in front of the cutting blade. Knife stays in the reverse grip with your thumb transferred to the opposite side. You're then going to place it on there, and you're going to cut towards yourself. Now, the beauty of this cut, if done and when done correctly, means that it's impossible for the blade to hit you, because when you get to that point there, your hand hits your chest before the blade can get anywhere near you. And again, you're just peeling off nice thin curls of wood, just working your way gradually along to take it down to whatever you're wanting to make. A stronger grip with this is the reinforced pull grip. So the knife goes there, your fingers are still behind the cutting edge of the blade, but you're using your non-dominant hand, the hand that's steadying the work, to also apply pressure to the cut. So this means you can take stronger, more controlled cuts. You can't make long cuts like this because your grip doesn't move very far. You need to work your way down the wood gradually. Just remove the splinters off so I don't get them stuck in my hand. And that's a good way to remove good chunks of wood if you need to, under control. So this is how you remove big chunks of wood. We want to move on then to finer cuts, more controlled, more detailed cuts. So we're going to use the thumb pull. Again, you're cutting back towards yourself. You need to be much more careful with this cut because you are going to have your thumb in front of the blade. So the knife will go, is used off quite often, chamfering off the square edges on a piece of wood. So you hold it like that. Your thumb is used to pull the blade towards you, but you keep your thumb down below the line of the knife blade. So even if you go past and you're using your thumb to control this cut, the blade will pass over the top of your thumb, and that's used for trimming up. An alternative option is the thumb push. So you turn the knife around to your standard fist grip, place it on a piece of wood. Again, this is for fine detail work, and you're going to use your left thumb to push the blade. So you're really controlling that, and not only can you work there, if you want to cut a small piece of wood out part way down, again the thumb push is the ideal grip for doing that, because you can cut nice and neatly down under control to give you a nice neat notch. A variant on the thumb push is the thumb pivot. So fist grip again, you're going to place the back of the blade against your non-dominant thumb, which is locked, and then you're going to twist the knife against your thumb, which allows the knife to cut through the timbers with just a little bit more force and a little bit more control than you would be able to do with a push grip, because your thumb allows you to control it. If you want to stop the cut, you just release the pressure on your thumb. So all I'm doing, and with all of these cuts, the best thing to do is to get yourself a piece of green wood. So that's a piece of living wood that is not too hard, and just practice making these cuts on it, and make sure you do plenty of practice before you start on a real piece of work. And again, be careful at all times. Always keep the blade well away from you. The knife is placed back into a sheath when you're not using it, and you make sure that your cuts are always outside of the triangle between your legs. So you're always working either to this side or this side, and sometimes you will cut in front of you where you can actually rest your hands on your knees, which means that the knife cannot come back inside. You do not want to cut anywhere there, because you have major blood vessels there and it can bleed. So go away, practice, take care, and that's this episode of Back Garden Bushcraft done for today.